All right, everybody, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble, of course. Yes, I do believe so, because, of course, people are pouring in. Plenty of people waiting, and chat is operating. We have a lot to talk about. Of course, Biden is going to East Palestine a year later, going on the anniversary, basically, of the derailment there. And talk about how batshit insane it is that his aides suggested that he even go there in the first place. I don't know exactly what the strategy is here. It's confusing to me. Therefore, it's funny. Bill Mitchell has decided to give up on his Trump derangement syndrome. By the way, I'll be encouraging people to ask him to unblock me. Welcome back aboard the Trump train. It was inevitable. DeSantis wasn't going to win. He has plenty of selling points. There's plenty of meritocratic stuff to talk about with regards to DeSantis. He absolutely flummoxed the far left when he sent a busload of migrants to Martha's Vineyard, for example, but he never really had a chance. Neither does, by the way, Nikki Haley. And it's good that Bill Mitchell is not jumping aboard the Nikki Haley, train. That train's derailed more than East Palestine, so not a surprise. I know that it might be partially self-serving, but anyone who's willing to get aboard with MAGA, I really don't care if they had like Trump derangement syndrome before. I welcome them aboard for strategic reasons, if only. Annie Lennox at the Grammys or whatever the fuck it was, channeling Sinead O'Connor, actually. And Annie Lennox, one of my favorite all-time singers, although her voice is not what it used to be necessarily. I still respect her, and I'll get into that as well. I will not talk smack to Annie Lennox. Californians don't have to pass a background check every time they buy bullets. Federal judge rules. We're talking about that. That's an interesting one. Also, the GOP nomination. Trump has it in the bag. There's nothing else to be said about it. There is no primary at this point. Not that there really was to begin with. Basically, once he crushed it in Iowa, that was it. And I prescribed that as the reality before. And I hold to that. Donald Trump is going to run the field. He will win every state within the GOP primaries. There is no other alternative. And then also I made biochar. We'll be talking about biochar, some of its benefits and how to do it, actually. I'll be making a tutorial video. Very big thanks, by the way, to RobbieBobby24 over on Twitter for showing me a really, really simplistic methodology to make it. I modified it only slightly by using a double barrel method. Yes, I know that there are methods to make higher quality charcoal. Yes, I know there are methods to make it look more cool. This is the simplest method that you're going to find. I made a shit ton of charcoal in a single burn with almost no effort whatsoever. And I'm going to grind that up. I'm going to charge it, which means you soak it with water and fertilizer, organic fertilizer, of course. I'm not going to use any fucking Miracle Grow or anything like that in my garden. I want it to be organic, heirloom, organic, non-GMO. That's the way that I'm going because I want to survive the coming apocalypse. And we'll be talking about that methodology. It's really, really simple. You see all sorts of different fancy methods to make charcoal out there on the internet. This is the only method you're going to need. It's basically an adaptation of the standard British method, which tends to use scrap wood and shit like that, branches and random vines and stuff, and you carbonize it in layers, but we'll get into that. It'll be fun. We're going to talk about some science here. Wendigo, yo, why ads on your Rumble vids? I do take ad revenue on Rumble and make quite a bit of money doing so. The reason why is because I don't care if Rumble gets a cut of the money. I just don't want it on YouTube. I took the no ad pledge on YouTube years and years ago. In fact, I think I was the first major creator to do so. I don't have a problem with YouTube doing the revenue splitting with live streams because a huge amount of bandwidth and shit like that. I mean, there's almost 700 people just on YouTube watching already now, and I'm only 4 minutes in. I don't have a problem with that, but with the main videos, I wanted them to be ad-free. I don't have a problem with Rumble getting a cut of the revenue. Also, BitChute unveiling PayShoot now as well. So I'll be signing up for that, and there will be a revenue sharing there as well. Kilowatt, what's your thoughts on Tucker in Russia? He's going to interview Vladimir Putin, maybe. I don't care. MSNBC did that a while ago. Nobody had a problem with that. I find it funny. People just have a hate boner for Tucker Carlson. I did when he was on Fox, but now he's left Fox, stabbed them in the back and said, oh, I'm going solo. I'm going to do my Twitter show. And so now I have no problem with him. He's no longer legacy media. He is actually doing his own thing. I imagine it's quite lucrative. I wish I had that kind of income. Blind Boy Gaming, 95% in South Carolina, 20 scoops of ice cream, ma'am. Also, can I get a shout out? Baby-sized channels, who needs a boost? Blind Boy Gaming, consider that a shout out for your channel. Yeah, no, I'm not surprised that Biden got 90, well, I think it was 96% actually in the end there. Look at his competition. Dean Phillips came in third behind Crystal Grandma Marianne Williamson. Marianne fucking Williamson, who probably, she manages her campaign mainly by reading tarot cards and burning herbs and stuff like that. And she managed to edge out Dean Phillips. And it's like, nobody even knows who these people are. Some of you do, but that's because I talk about him mainly. Nobody gives a fuck about Marianne Williamson. Nobody gives a fuck about Dean Phillips. It's an astroturf. I admire his ads. I admire the bravado. It's good that Biden's not running effectively unopposed, but he kind of is. He doesn't have any serious competitor, not since RFK Jr. dropped out. And he would have been at like, what, 3 or 4 points probably by now. They moved the South Carolina primary ahead as a reward to Joe Biden and to South Carolina because they want to target that state. And they don't think they need to target New Hampshire. They think that it's in the bag. That's why they shuffled their schedule. And the Democratic Party goes from there. Dean Phillips has some decent ideas, which is why he won't be the Dem nominee, because a person with decent ideas is never going to make any headway within the Democratic Party. It's just impossible at this point. Anyway, speaking of Joe, little Joe Biden, Biden to head to East Palestine 1 year after train derailment after facing intense pressure to visit. Yes, Joe Biden's staffers have a genius idea. You neglected East Palestine after a major local ecological disaster in which a bunch of chemicals were deliberately immolated after a train derailed there. You cut them open and then you set them on fire in order to burn them up into the atmosphere. And for the most part, that renders it inert. Just to be clear, the contamination level by now is fairly low, which is why Biden's willing to go there. I was just thinking back, though, about when it first happened. Of course, it's big in the news. You've got a major train derailment, a bunch of chemicals, there's fucking smoke and wreckage everywhere. What happened? What happened to spark this turn of events? First, Donald Trump went there. In the immediate wake of the disaster, he's handing out bottled water to people and like, hey, you might not want to turn on the tap anytime soon. You might want to wait until things degrade a little bit in the biosphere. Hands out cleaning supplies and shit like that. A few days later, the Biden campaign commanded Pete Buttigieg, who had said prior, well, I'll go when the time is right. And apparently the time was right after Donald Trump went there. He shows up looking like the OSHA poster boy with his work boots and the reflective vest and the goggles and the hard hat and every goddamn thing else, which is fucking hilarious. He goes there. At the very least, it was kind of contemporary to the disaster that happened. Now Joe Biden said, come on, man, a year later ain't too late now, is it? I'm going to go and I'm sure that he'll drink a glass of water that was filtered out from the creek, too, in the process. Nope, I don't think that'll happen. By the way, I was talking to Taylor Hansen, who actually went on Timcast the day after I was on, and he was talking about that, how he wanted to show up there in East Palestine and maybe troll Joe Biden. I don't know if he's going to do that, but if he does, you are legend, sir. Cool dude, by the way. Taylor Hansen is on Timcast. He works, I can't remember the exact name of the media group that he works for, but he does actual journalism. So like at the border and stuff like that. So none of the pussyfooting bullshit like, Joy Reid or something, some talking head. He actually does his job, which is why he's not working for the lamestream media, by the way. And anyway, I don't know what fucking aide or staffer told Joe Biden it was a good idea for him to do this. The mayor has endorsed Trump. The people there, you were conspicuously absent for an entire year. Now you're headed there. You're going to get heckled. It's inevitable that when Joe Biden goes to East Palestine, he's probably going to have a bunch of like Fed plants around him to cheer and do the golf clap thing. Oh, Joe, you made such a wonderful speech, even though you're mumbling about corn pop or something like that, mumbling about the beer that you talked to in Milwaukee. And that's pretty much it. The people that are actually there will be kind of sidelined. Ohio is not a competitive state. It's solid red at this point. It was competitive 20 years ago. So Joe Biden's not going there for political campaign purposes. I think it's more that they think that he needs to go in order to save face. It would have been better if you didn't show up. because then people, by and large, would have forgotten East Palestine actually happened. Instead, they decided to send him into the belly of the beast in order to get heckled. I'm thinking that somebody in the White House campaign staff fucking hates Joe Biden and really wants him to lose. It's not going to be a good look. You're going to show up in East Palestine. People are going to boo you. There's probably going to be people with Trump bumper stickers on their goddamn pickup trucks, coal rolling in the off to the side, and it'll be a shit show. I don't know what he hopes to achieve by this. I genuinely don't understand. If you had gone a month after or something like that, okay, it's a little bit belated, but at least it's in the same fucking year. You could have done something. You know, you pledge support. You say, well, I passed this bill here for $50 billion to clean up East Palestine and dredge out the soil, which is contaminated, and remove the wreckage and everything else. And, you saw Pete Buttigieg. He'd be there and looking like gay Dracula. And here's Pete and blah, blah, blah. And then shake hands with people. Waiting this long in and of itself is a bad look. Showing up that belatedly, I think, is arguably worse. If I were advising Joe Biden, I would say, okay, it's been too long. Don't show the fucking goddamn hell up at all. Trump already upstaged your own transport secretary. Everyone there fucking hates you anyway. There's no reason to show up. There's no political reason. There's no strategic reason. You've already cleaned up the site to the best of the abilities of, again, OSHA poster boy. You've done all that you can. Well, call it a day. Go somewhere else. Go back to Rehoboth Beach and ride your bike and hopefully don't fall down again. I don't know what he's doing. I genuinely don't understand the strategy of the Biden administration at most times. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not talking about a moral standpoint or anything like that. Just from a strategic standpoint, okay, you're a politician, you want to get reelected, etc. What does this serve? What fucking purpose does it serve? None. And this has been a repeat facet of the Biden administration. Chinois, Sticks, we need clankers in Nevada tomorrow, the 6th for the primary, and Thursday, the 8th for the caucus. Trump has the caucus in the bag, but the primary, Nikki Haley, can lose to none of the above. Yes, indeed. If you are in Nevada for tomorrow, take a primary ballot and vote for none of the above, because Trump ain't on it. DeSantis ain't on it. Ramaswamy's not on it. None of the people that actually make sense are on it, and then go in the caucus and vote for Trump. I think you can take a ballot in both. Dat Pie over there. Today on Sticks Down, we have Aussie's Robots v. Wasted for the Sticks Down Championship. Wasted spares no time in rushing Aussie's bot outfitted with a shield. It stops him in his tracks, but the shield begins to corrode. The bot lets it go, lest he too rusts away. The bot uses a rocket-propelled kick to launch one of Wasted arms into the crowd, turning several people to ash in a flash. He goes for a pin. 1, 2, but Wasted's rusted the bot away and breaks up the pin. Wasted charges towards Aussie, but he dodges, and Wasted slams straight into the ring post. And wait, is that? Oh my God, it's Sigil, and he slaps him across the face with caca, blinding him. Aussie pulls him out, and he begins the bionic elbow, punching him at Mach speed, and slam, cover. 1, 2, 3, and new Sticks Down champion, Aussie. So, according to Dat Pie over there, Aussie's Robots, you have officially defeated the zombie. I'm sure you're very happy about that. Blind Boy Gaming. Wait, East Palestine, Ohio? I thought they meant the other one. Come on, man. Yeah, they told Biden he was going to Palestine. He said, oh, that'll be fun. You get to go overseas. They said, no, East Palestine. Oh, what is that? Is that in the Jordan River or something like that? Is that west of Jerusalem? He probably doesn't even know where he was being sent. He probably genuinely believed that it was the actual Palestine that he was going to. I mean, it is Joe Biden we're talking about. There's a distinct possibility that they hoodwinked him. Dur0694. Toledo here. Non-suburbs and urban are majority MAGA. Plenty of Trump flags over garage doors out in the cornfields. Many more than Biden bumper stickers. I actually have to get a new Trump sign. I've got just a second. Try to grab it here. I still got the 2016 sign over here, and I ain't getting rid of it. Sorry, by the way, there's a little bit of lint on the hat because it was on the floor, unfortunately, briefly. Oh, and it's beginning to fall apart. Yeah, I got my Trump sign. Yeah. Only minus the Pence, of course, this time around. I don't think that he's going to be the running mate. I'm keeping that shit. A little bit of sun bleaching. Why don't you stand up? You're drunker than Joe Biden at the bar. BW, what do you think about the South Carolina primary? It looks like a lot of people stayed home for the Biden primary. Yeah, most people didn't bother to show up for voting, but those that did, they generally voted Biden, which was entirely predictable. Christ is king. Remind ya, I'm kinda. What do fuck over on Rumble? Will you please do a comprehensive video series on biochar? Yes, I absolutely will. From wood to garden, benefits, goals, etc. Thanks. Yes, I would like to do like a 30-minute video on biochar. We'll be talking about that later. Grandpa Nurgle, great show on Timcast. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. It was a great, actually. Tim's one eccentric dude. You should see his collection of random stuff around his studio. I can't even imagine what his own personal home looks like. He's definitely kicking it. He's got a rose quartz sphere the size of a fucking bowling ball on his studio desk. I think they're building a new, bigger studio now, actually, so maybe I'll get to see that in the future. I had a great time. Hanging out with Tim is fucking fun. M1 Dodd, if you want to laugh, look at New York City's DOCC's new nonviolence season. Pizza party for felons. This state is so fucked. Lol, hopefully you don't get screwed with your tax hike. Yeah, I expect to pay a bit more taxes, but at the same time, I can make do. It'll be fine. It's just, you know, I'm sad. If the government were using my money, at least for something that was domestically credible, like housing homeless veterans, getting people addiction treatment, fucking securing the border, okay, I would be fine with that. I'd be fine with the tax rate. Instead, they're spending it all sending bombs over to foreign countries. That's my problem. It's what it's being used on. I'm a classical liberal, not an ANCAP or something like that. Yes, taxations are effectively theft, but I'm willing to deal with a little bit of theft if it's actually going to a good purpose. And it's not. It's going to a shitty purpose. Mike the Wapo, hope all is well. A small pinch of salt in your coffee should tone down the acidity. That sounds disgusting. Don't use enough to taste it, just a little bit to make it smoother. I'm skipping your advice, Mike. That sounds terrible. Wow, Rumble stock is now over 6.5. I've been saying for a while it's going to jump in. Really hope people bought low. Also, when John Titor occult video, it's already in the docket. I got to get to some occult videos. You may have noticed I've been a little bit busy over the last couple months. Cricket Kiss, Judas Pence will have a place at Trump's White House running the hot dog cart by the fence. And fuck Joe Biden and the globalists he serves. Yeah, that would be funny. He'd probably make quite a bit of money, too, actually. You know, Nancy Pelosi, she needs those hot dogs for other purposes. She doesn't want them cooked for a reason. Just imagine that. Picture that in your mind, with your visual mind, and picture Nancy Pelosi stuffing them in. Wonder how many fit in there. Yeah, I'd say the over and under is about 4. Yeah, she's got some problems. Hello, Vermont Red Pill, by the way. I've seen some of your content. Pretty good. Jason Lane. How likely are the polls to remain in roughly the territory they're in now with President Trump at +5? Have you seen the polls shift from a margin this wide? Yes, they can, actually. They're able to shift by double digits, actually. It's just that they could shift in Trump's direction. Based on the border's not going to be closed. The economy is not going to solve itself before Election Day. Foreign diplomacy, there's not going to be any major successes there. I can't see anything really over the next year that moves in Biden's direction. I think if anything, if there's any movement, it'll be against him. And I talked about the fact that I think that Biden may have a polling ceiling forming actually this morning. I think it's around 44, 45 or thereabouts, which is bad. Next news story. Well, it's good for us. It's bad for Biden, I mean. Bill Mitchell, I wanted DeSantis to be my nominee, but the Trump mojo was just too strong. I did my best and failed. But this was the first half of a 2-half game. I can become bitter because my quarterback got taken out and stay in the locker room, or I can come out and play for the team, Republicans, I guess. I'm going to play for the team and help my new quarterback win. #Trump 2024. With Bill Mitchell, he blocked me some time ago because I was, berating him for his Trump derangement syndrome. Here's my tactic and my belief, though. If somebody has gotten back on the Trump train, I don't care if they were acerbic. I don't care if they insulted people. I don't care if they blocked me. Welcome back aboard the Trump train, the winning team. Thank you to Bill Mitchell there. Unlike Max Nordau and a handful of others, Dave Riaboy, etc., you saw the light. I realize it's entirely self-serving because Mitchell understands that Trump will be nominee. He's going to be big in the news. He wants to support what he hopes will be a winning team. And the TDS was partially kayfabe in the first place. I understand that. But I don't give a fuck. If you're going to stump for Trump, if you're going to support him, if you're going to ballot harvest, knock on doors or whatever, I don't care who you supported prior to Trump. There were plenty of people, myself included, who, for example, in 2016, strongly supported Rand Paul. I would have loved Rand Paul to have been the GOP candidate. He would have won, by the way, against Hillary Clinton. He would have been a great president. He might have even been better than goddamn Donald Trump. But he bowed out. He endorsed Donald Trump. And I said, okay, that's good enough for me. Bill Mitchell got the memo. Ron DeSantis dropped out. He's not in the running. He endorsed Donald Trump. Well, there you go. He's back on the Trump train. I do not care about the fact that Bill Mitchell had TDS before. If he's capable of getting over it and supporting Trump, I'll forgive him. I don't care that you blocked me. You should unblock me, by the way, Bill. If you see this, people should clip this out and send it to him incessantly. Unblock me, dude. I have no problem with you if you're supporting Trump now. I don't give a fuck. You're supporting the winning team. And I do believe that Donald Trump has a real good chance of winning in the 24 election. I know that some of the sour grapes people, mainly, hardcore DeSantis fans, even beyond Bill Mitchell, I know that they say, well, he can't win. He's lost a bunch of political. I don't believe that. I'm looking at the polls. I'm matching them against 2016 and saying if Trump had this sort of advantage then, it would have been a foregone conclusion that he would have won the election. About the only thing that can stop him at this point is his death, which thankfully I don't think is likely to happen. He's got his own private security. I wouldn't trust Secret Service alone. His incapacitation, which is not likely. He seems to be reasonably healthy for a person of his age. Or being outright disqualified, in which case the Republican Party will have brokered the convention and committed political suicide. Well, if that happens, it'll definitely be exciting. We'll have multiple live streams about those proceedings. I just don't think that it's likely. I think the most likely outcome is that Donald Trump literally wins while under house arrest at the Mar-a-Lago with a goddamn ankle monitor on. That will be one for the history books. Grover Cleveland, eat your heart out. So I welcome Bill Mitchell back into the fold. You do have a decently large audience, and so every little bit helps. Just encourage people to do more than simply vote. Knock on doors, harvest ballots, picket, do whatever you have to do. Put up fucking Trump stickers or something like that. Make a sea monkey. Salt in my coffee? No thanks, bro. Also, caca, pee-pee, papa, poo-poo. That is all. Peace out. I understand the meaning. BW, can we draw conclusions about Biden's support and turnout in November due to primary non-voters? No. And that's because he's running unopposed. People have no reason to show up in large numbers. He doesn't have a... Marianne Williamson and Dean Phillips, for all of their bravado, mean nothing. They mean literally nothing. The only competitor in the race that ever had anything to stand on was RFK Jr. He dropped out of the party to do the independent bid, which, by the way, doesn't hurt Trump or Biden. It's literally a 50-50 split, which I predicted. Union Dems that had flocked to Trump are going to him. And then disaffected Dems that have Biden derangement syndrome, actually, mainly due to his age, they're flocking to him as well. That will narrow, by the way, towards Election Day. A BRG too far. Hell, Paul can stuff more than 4. Goodness. Suck Duck, Trump v. Steamboat Mickey 2024. Ramon C. GTC, Orange Man Big. Yeah, good book. I wrote it myself. By the way, link pinned at the top on YouTube and cross-platform in the description to my books blog. You can get all sorts of cool stuff there, including some political material in the My Work section, Orange Man Big, Occult Memetics, stuff against critical race theory debunked. Ozzy's Robots. Greetings, Clankers. Zombie Slayer here. Have to say that border bill is the biggest pile of crap I've seen. And I've seen plenty of GOP should be ashamed. Yeah, I talked about that this morning. The border bill doesn't even have to do with the border. The provisions are basically pro-illegal border crossings and then a bunch of money for Ukraine and Israel. Pass a fucking clean bill once in a while. The GOP loves to lose. Wendigo, Abby Shapiro's chest is bigger than Gaza. Ooh. Wow. Medicare uploaded a video for the first time in forever. Please link me. DM me on Twitter immediately. Medicare made a video. Thought he has cancer, right? Well, I mean, if he survived this long, maybe he'll fucking beat it. That would definitely be a part of his style. Hey, I'm a cancer survivor. You're not allowed to criticize me anymore. I can call you a cunt, and you can't say anything back to me. Endless Vertigo. Do you think political signs sway anyone? Debating if it's worth putting one up versus the potential vandals. I'm on the border between the most blue and red counties in Wisconsin. Well, I had the Trump sign up in 2016. So for what it's worth. Mike the Wop. Oh, I specifically said not enough salt to taste it. Yeah, well, then it shouldn't deacidify or anything like that if it's that little. No, thank you. I'll stick to, well, with the coffee that I got from Jam and Bean, it's so non-acidic, it's so smooth. You can just take it black. You don't need any milk or sugar or anything like that. I put a little bit of sugar in it just to sweeten. It's one of only like 3 things I put sugar in. The other being like if I make a red sauce, I'll use a little bit of sugar. And the amount depends on what I'm putting the sauce on. Pizza gets the most. Sloppy Joes get the least. Chili, you can put a little bit in the chili, but you don't really need to, etc., etc. I cook well. Trust me, you would like the chili that I make unless you're like Razor Fist. He doesn't believe beans go in chili. And I'm like, okay, if it's meant to be a condiment on top of a hot dog, of course, you're right. If it's just a standalone meal, yeah, of course you need beans. 3 or 4 kinds of beans. K-Max McDonald. Sticks, is the immigration bill not at all cracked up to be? The neocons claim Republicans will never get a better immigration bill than this one. You should just not pass a bill, wait till Trump's back in office, and then pass one. It's retarded. Most of the money in it isn't earmarked for immigration at all. It has nothing to do with the border. Billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine, to Israel, and to other like pet projects and shit like that. 20 billion for the border, but then you've got the provision that any adjudication of that bill in the future, probably under Trump, would go through a DC court where necessarily they're gonna say no to him. So I wouldn't vote in favor of it. Rand Paul standing against it is enough to convince me that I'm right. Wasted Bonehead, good morning from the grave. Also, Zombie Slayer, what the fuck did I walk in on? Yes, you got defeated by Ozzy's robots. You got a rocket elbow to the ribs and the rest was history. I'm sorry, my dude. Maybe next year. Cultivated Mind, good morning, Sticks. I'm sending you a bottle of my Radiant Energy Mushroom Blend. Really gets your engine going. Free shipping for all clankers at cultivatedmind.com. That's cultivated-mind.com. Radiant Energy Mushroom Blend. That sounds good. If it has any psychotropics in it, though, I will not be able to use it. I blew out my receptors years ago with a fucking overdose on spice. I can't use any form of mind-altering substances anymore. I'm assuming that it's just like, mushroom infusion. What do fuck? I am human and hence evolved as an omnivore. That being said, I really love those portobello mushroom burger recipes you made a few years ago. Delicious. Oh, it's great. We're having a nice pot roast tonight, actually. Dad's cooking it right now. Low and slow with extra onion, fucking carrots and potatoes, basically everything you need for a meal. I can't wait to grow all that shit. Can you imagine when all the ingredients, other than maybe the meat, are fully fresh? Then you get the meat from the farmer's market or a local butcher. Sigilstone 17. So the official Israel Twitter account posted, "We will dance again." Nothing to read into there, I'm sure. Yeah, maybe they're threatening Joe Biden. Yeah, it'd be a shame if your business were to burn down here. Maybe you should buy some insurance money. Man, drop $1,000. We'll keep you safe from ourselves. King of Biltong, good morning from Anton's in Roanoke, Texas. Free shipping on your Biltong using code STICKS on www.landofbiltong.com and www.antonsusa.com. Glad to be on the stream. We are MAGA 100% at Anton's #ClankNation. I will be coming by probably early spring to Anton's in Roanoke, Texas. I'll let people know beforehand. We'll have a little bit of a meet and greet, and I'll buy everyone some Biltong. That's what I'm talking about. I ate half of that bison bag, by the way, Anton, earlier. I literally ate half the bag the other day. I don't know how much meat that is, but there's a fucking lot of protein. But I needed it because I'm like going back and forth to the charcoal barrel and I'm getting all cold and stuff. So you want to metabolize and shit. Sigilstone 17. Medicare's video isn't special. It's from Worski's stream of Worski eating shit in Tekken and Ralph reading off Medicare's tweets as Jim watched the stream. Interesting. I'd like to see it anyway. Alvman, hello everyone. Trying to push my YouTube to 500 subs each. Alvman, that's ALVMAHN, and just the AR platform. Rock on. So there's a shout out to Alvman / just the AR platform. Wasted Bonehead, you can't say Slayer in the YouTube super chats. Also, hello Sigil, the bunny man. I brought you a carrot. Transylvanian 90. What even is the point of passing a new border bill when the federal government is so derelict that it refuses to enforce current laws related to the border? I agree. That's a great point. There is no point behind it. Sigil Stone. Bonehead is just jealous he doesn't have a thick bun like I do. Oh, goodness. By the way, again, landofbiltong.com and also Pumpkin Fire Crafts available in the description, cross-platform. And you can get some cool merch. From Anton, you can get the Biltong, of course. There's also a Styx Hexenhammer section with mugs and tumblers, etc. And on Pumpkin Fire Crafts, you have bookmarks, you have belt chains, you have keychains, you have amulets. I refuse to call them necklaces. And also other things are in the pipeline at this moment. I'm glad to see that people are agreeing with me that chili without beans ain't chili. It's a condiment. It's still chili. It's good on a hot dog, chili dog, lots of cheese on it like I had at fucking Penny's when I was on Timcast there. The hotel is attached to a diner, and I had a chili cheese dog there. God damn, it was amazing. 10 out of 10 would recommend. If you're ever in that area of Brunswick, Maryland, go to Penny's Diner. Absolutely spectacular diner food. Great aesthetic, cool people there. Amazing. Apparently that's referred to as the Timcast Diner. Flaming Dragon just got my Corn Pop license plates. Oh, God. Bara, have you tried the coffee Tim Pool is selling? No. I don't really do the coffee sales thing. Like, people send me free coffee like Jam and Bean and stuff like that, and I look at that as a fringe benefit of being a content creator. I don't want to flood the market, though, because it seems like every other content creator has a coffee blend or tea or something like that. I'd probably go with tea first, do like a tea blend. But I would make and sell it myself. I just grow chamomile outside in the garden and then bag it up and send it to people. That'd be kind of cool. Styx Hexen chamomile. Clankin chamomile. I just got a business idea. Generation XT sent $5. No comment. Thank you. Baron Von Blair bought 0.81 pounds of bison biltong from Anton's in Roanoke, Texas, and can't wait to gorge on it. Thanks to you both. Clank. Oh, it's delicious. The bison is definitely hands down my favorite. The bison and also the carbonasi with the pork. I'd say those are my two favorites. I really liked the Reaper. Mainly my dad ate it, though, because he's more of a spice enthusiast than me. Hungry Bone Dog, were you satisfied with your Timcast IRL appearance? Do you plan to have any beanies for merch? What makes you not libertarian now? I am a libertarian, but on the classically liberal side. Yeah, I was absolutely satisfied. Tim's a cool dude. Everyone there was cool. Hanging out with them is, you should see his front room. It's the ultimate man cave. Fucking pool table, big ass TV. Got his own bar. He's got cool decorations everywhere. He's very eclectic. And he bounces around from thing to thing. Like, he is very high energy. So I just naturally could get along with him. He's fucking taking his dirt bike around in circles in his hardwood floored main room before he leaves. And I was thinking to myself, man. And then apparently Chicken City is going to be expanded too. And no, I'm not going to sell beanies as merch. Generation XT sent $2. No comment. Thank you. Wendigo, you should make a seed company. I've thought of that. And the thing is, the logistics of mailing it all out, and it's like, holy shit. Charms. Hey, Styx, I had a baby girl last week. Can I get a clank for the little teaspoon? Big love. I don't have a spoon. Well, actually, I do have a spoon available. But it's a... Oh, Jesus Christ. It's a commemorative spoon. A Vermont spoon, actually. Close enough. Got a Vermont clank. Excellent. Congratulations. Ramon C. GTC. Is it true German chamomile is stronger? I've always thought the Roman was stronger, actually. But that's just my opinion. I grow mainly the Roman kind. Wasted Bonehead. Sigil doesn't even deny he's a furry. He admits it. Sigil. I need furries and zombies to my rabbit. Feed furries and zombies to my rabbit. She saw Monty Python once and modeled her life after it. Got to get that beast sated. What do fuck? Stag chili, classic gray label out of the can, is the best canned chili I've found with beans, green peppers, etc. Not as good as homemade, but sometimes you don't have time for later. I don't know. It's always time to cook chili and stew and all of the other comfy foods. Hungry Bone Dog. So when you say classically liberal, do you mean American constitutionalist? Yeah, basically. I hear the phrase and it means different things to different people. I want government to be much more limited, taxes to be much more limited, and for people to get out of my way and leave me alone. That's basically my ethos. I'm willing to pay taxes. I'm willing to deal with laws insofar as they make sense. It's just 90% of them don't. I would eliminate about 90% of the laws, regulation, and bureaucrats in the country and call it a day. I think that'd be a good compromise. Next news story. Now that we're over a half an hour in, Annie Lennox sparks backlash after wading into Israel-Hamas war by calling for a ceasefire during emotional Grammy performance. Yes, Annie Lennox is interesting. She's a leftoid, a non-turf radical third-wave feminist. She wore the AIDS blood shirt. She does environmentalist, kind of NIMBYist shit. Is one of my favorite artists, actually, of all time. Annie Lennox, especially back during the diva era. Spectacular voice, very beautiful, very full of charm. I like Annie Lennox. And I'm not going to badmouth Annie Lennox for anything that she says, because as far as music goes, incredible talent. The only thing I didn't like, and Cyndi Lauper did the same goddamn thing, was in the middle of the 2000s, they both dropped acoustic records. Oh, here's my greatest hits that were popular because of all the synth, by the way, but I made them acoustic now. It just didn't work for me. I was very disappointed. I mean, Cyndi Lauper, when she was on there with her co-musicians, they just all looked sad, like they were slowly plinking it out, like with a harp and shit like that, and like old school like honky tonk piano, and like no, girls just want to have fun is meant to be a high energy song. It's not meant to be acoustic. If you try to do an acoustic Sweet Dreams, unless you're doing an instrumental for like rock vocals or something, like fuck off. Annie Lennox has my respect. She has her own views, and I can parse that apart from it because I don't agree with most of her views from her music. Music, very talented. Political, social views, not something I'm on board with. But when she channels Sinead O'Connor perfectly at the Grammys, and this is the only thing from the Grammys that I actually give a damn about. I'm never going to watch any of the award shows, Grammys, Saturn Awards, whatever the fuck it happens to be. Count me out because I don't give a fuck. But when she perfectly channels Sinead O'Connor in remembrance for her, specifically she was doing Sinead O'Connor cover. And then at the end, she perfectly channels Sinead O'Connor by doing the, artists for ceasefire thing. She did it in exactly the tone that Sinead O'Connor did when she did her famous bit there after she's singing with the Pope. She had the picture of the Pope, and she was protesting against child sex abuse in the Catholic Church and tore up the picture of the Pope. It ended her career. And then later on, like a decade later, everyone realizes, oh shit, Sinead O'Connor, we thought she was crazy, but she was actually correct. Catholic Church was literally shuffling around Oliver O'Grady there, who has been rearrested in Ireland on child porn charges last year, by the way. Shuffled him around for fucking 5 different parishes over there. I think it was in California, to avoid scrutiny. And the archbishop that helped do that, he got a deposition. I think he's oddly still in the church for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why, but it was all screwed. She was right. I think Annie Lennox is trying to make a point of, hey, right now everyone's gung-ho for Israel in the United States, but in the future you'll sour on it and realize that I was right. And, the ceasefire is a good idea. By the way, a little bit of a backhand to Biden, to anti-ceasefire Biden, who hasn't pushed the issue. I like Annie Lennox. Her voice is not the same as it was in 1990 or something like that, but she's still talented. She still makes good music. She's got a stage presence. I like her. The Eurythmics were my first favorite band, actually, of all time. My first favorite solo artist back when I was a little kid was Elvis. But then I heard the Eurythmics. I realized this band existed with Sweet Dreams and shit. It was on the radio all the time. And I really fell in love with the band. My favorite band now is Depeche Mode. But the Eurythmics are still on my top 10. And now my favorite solo artist, I think it'd be Billy Idol. But Elvis is still up there. He's got some bangers, Just saying. Yeah, back when I was a kid, it was all Elvis all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. I loved that song as a kid. I like the Beach Boys and shit like that. You listen to the oldies and shit like that. Let's see here. Ellen Smithy, how do you deal without having a cat around? I don't know how to function without cat dander and getting my elbow head-butted while I type. There are 4 cats in this household. Merlin sneezed himself to death. There used to be 5. He literally sneezed to death while I wasn't here. I didn't get to see it, but apparently he started sneezing and he had a heart attack. His heart just... I know it's sad because I loved Merlin, but the way of his death was just so absurd. He always had sniffy problems anyway. He had what is it? I can't remember exactly the disease, but he had respiratory issues. He sneezed so hard, his fucking heart stopped beating. Ozzy's Robots made a post on X stating, "I was shocked to see a TV ad in Portugal depicting a white family with a normal dad. It's had 600,000 impressions, also triggering leftoids calling it racist. P.S. Find me there." Interesting. So yeah, Annie Lennox is going to get crucified now because she's calling for a ceasefire. And they're saying like she's pro-terrorism or something like that. Okay, a ceasefire doesn't mean you're pro-Hamas. A ceasefire means people are killing each other and you'd like them to stop. Maybe not my business, but I don't want to see a bunch of kids and women get shot for no reason. And it's a 2-to-1, the number of civilians to Hamas members that are being killed. So I can respect her opinion on that. Wow, 80s is the greatest era of music. I agree with you. The 90s is a close second. Although I will point out there's actually some great Zoomer music. There's a lot of retro. Some of it is like, imagine that the early 80s were overlapped with cabaret. And that's sort of the feel, like a higher energy Lana Del Rey or something like that. I actually like that kind of music. I've added a number of songs to my favorites list recently. I find I listen to them on the alternative channel on the radio. Felipe Farias, Clank from Pensacola, from the free state of Florida. Nice. Wasted Bonehead. Sigil is salty because my grandpa has more followers than him. Sigil. Funny, salty was the latest dump I took on Bonehead's grave after eating a shit ton of popcorn. Gonna hit his grandpa's grave too. Wasted Bonehead. Sigil is so petty he devolves to targeting my family members. I would pity him if he wasn't such a nuisance. Next news story. Federal court in California ruling that indeed Californians do not have to pay a tax in order to buy ammunition. This is pretty straightforward. Under Bruen, it never would have held up to scrutiny, and I'm hoping that the Supreme Court takes an omnibus of these cases, this might be appealed to them anyway, and says, no, Bruen is binding. What the fuck more do we need to say? What don't you understand about historical precedent of gun control? You've seen them invoke historical precedent without even giving a legal precedent. Like in, what was it? What state was it? Massachusetts, I think it was. They said, well, yes, the gun control that we have here conforms to Bruen and the long-standing historical tradition established by the founders, but they never gave any examples. You read the paperwork from that case. I can't remember what the docket was. They claim precedent without actually establishing precedent. It's basically like, hey, this is my opinion, man. Sort of like the Colorado case with Trump ballot access. Well, it's self-evident that he committed an insurrection. Okay, well, there was no insurrection charge. You don't provide any literature regarding any case that claims that he was involved in an insurrection or fomenting an insurrection, but he still made the decision. It's basically just completely arbitrary. It's literally, this is just my opinion as a judge, and therefore somehow it's magically legally binding unless a higher court decides to overrule it. What we need is the Supreme Court to take up these cases and fucking reassert itself, because it ain't been asserting itself enough lately. Except when it tells the feds that they're allowed to supersede the Texas government on the border temporarily. Look how well that went over. Oh, by the way, look at the bacon grease. Yeah, it's literal lard. That's going to be used as a propellant in the next load of charcoal that I make. I made a video about that earlier. I'll be talking about biochar in a minute. Francisco Sanchez Jr. First super chat your way. Great taste in music. Good takes. Great Timcast guest. I'm taking a ride with my best friend. Never Let Me Down by Depeche Mode. My favorite song of theirs. Very good song. I don't actually think I can identify a favorite song by Depeche Mode because I love them all. They're the one band where anything they've made, including like instrumental demos and everything else, like fucking rough takes, everything's good. Literally everything. My favorite song is not by Depeche Mode. My favorite song is Love My Way by the Psychedelic Furs. But as far as my favorite band overall, which I can find unimpeachable on anything they've made, is Depeche Mode. And keep in mind, fucking Martin Gore, I think, is a fucking socialist. Actually, they had that commie cover that everyone thought was drawn, but it's actually just really, it's a photograph. The one with the woman out there in the field in Russia with the sickle. Dur0694, Perturbator, Best Synth, followed by Mitch Murder. Sigilstone, YouTube channels to watch, Natural Habitat Shorts and Turbo Dong 2000. First channel does funny as hell animation of animal facts. Second does hilarious AI-generated commercials and videos. Yeah, I'm petty and full of shit and happy to share, he follows up with. Michael Cricklow, are you familiar with MF Doom? Cool rap music. No, I'm not. I have to look it up later. Next news story, Trump is now undefeatable within the Republican primaries. He's still rising up. It looks like he'll hit 75. This is versus Nikki Haley. When you have 75% of the vote and you had like 40% as your core support anyway, and Haley failed to capitalize on her stunning second place victory in New Hampshire, she still considers it one. When you're rolling into Nevada with no chance, you might not even win on a ballot in which Trump's not even on. You're the only candidate that's going to be on the primary ballot that won't count, but you may lose out to none of the above. That's entirely likely. By the way, again, Nevadans, please take the primary ballot. I think that's tomorrow, and vote for none of the above, just to humiliate her even further. She might not even make it to South Carolina. She might see, well, shit, I came in behind none of the above and Mike Pence on the primary ballot. I came in well behind Trump on the caucus ballot, which actually counts. I've lost 3 states in a row, including the state I spent over $100 million of ads in. Maybe I should go home. But I don't think she will. I think she might even stay in after she is defeated in South Carolina. If the gap isn't absolutely monumental, like a fucking 35-point gap, she'll probably be crazy enough to stay in through Super Tuesday, just to gobble up 2 or 3 delegates on that day so that she can roll into the convention and say, hey, we don't want a felon to be the one running for our party. You should nominate me instead, and try to force a brokered convention. Again, Dean Phillips, the biggest loser the other day, he came in third to Marianne Williamson. Dude, I could have gotten more goddamn votes than Marianne Williamson in the South Carolina primary. Most of you could as well. Make a goddamn YouTube video, you'd get more votes than Marianne Williamson. I don't know what that dude's problem is. Wah, synthwave plus sax equals godly music. Sax is underrated. I like sexy sax solos from 80s music, but in general, I'm not a saxophone fan. Ozzy's robots. There are too many saboteurs in the GOP. Not enough, though. Not enough to stop Trump, I think. I think in the end, he will win. Right now, I would give an 80-85% chance if the election were held today of him winning the election. That's higher than certainly higher than my confidence in 2020. I'd say it's at least on par with 2016 and probably rides ahead of it based on the fucking polling. Sigil. Speaking of the Supreme Court, Amy Coney Barrett is proof why Trump should never have a woman as VP. Name a single woman he put into power that didn't stab him and MAGA in the back. Yeah. But I mean, some of the most qualified candidates haven't been female. I think Tulsi Gabbard would be the best myself. The reason why, she's got military experience. The border crisis and foreign diplomacy both tie into the military, which has been decimated by Joe Biden. Have Tulsi Gabbard there, she'd hammer the fuck out of Kamala Harris. She'd look reasonably attractive. She's on the young side, etc. Here's me, I'm surfing in Hawaii. Here's me in a bikini and stuff like that. It would have appeal. And she's a former Dem who can bring in left-leaning independents. I think Tulsi Gabbard's the best, most powerful choice. Kristi Noem's more likely. That's perfectly fine, too. Tim Scott and Kristi Noem getting, by the way, name dropped the other day when Donald Trump was talking about prospective running mates. Now, it could just be that's a cover. We don't know that either of them is who he wants to choose, and I don't think he's fully chosen yet anyway. But it could be one of them. They'd both be acceptable. Tim Scott would be a little bit less good, I think, than Kristi Noem in the charisma department. You don't need much to defeat Kamala Harris, but you really want to, screw it in. You really want to screw that knife in. And then the final news story, I made some biochar. Yes, thank you to RobbieBobby24 over on Twitter, also known as DamiMommy69. I'm thinking that might be satirical in nature. I'm not sure, and I don't ask questions and don't care for the answer. Anyway, he told me an easy method to make charcoal. There are a dozen of them on YouTube. If you want to make biochar, this is the easiest, although not most environmentally friendly method. I modified his slightly. He takes a barrel and you start a fire in the bottom. You let it get going really well. You're going to want dry wood mainly for this, by the way. You can use green wood in the upper layers. It won't matter. It'll just take longer. You get that going. You add another layer, especially in the middle. And then you add another layer when that one starts to carbonize. So it's completely black on the outside, starting to turn white. Then you add the next layer. You want to compact it, and the weight will slowly push the cinders down. What you're doing is that the lower layers are denied oxygen. The uppermost layer is the only one getting most of the oxygen. The lower layers are compacting and compacting, so that's precluding even more air. And you're building up layer after layer of charcoal. It's very similar to the British method, which uses like a vat with its sides out 45 degrees or thereabouts. And they start a fire in the middle and they just pile things in. Then they stanch it out with water. You don't need that for this particular method. I took a smaller barrel and I started the fire, et cetera, but I put it into a larger barrel. I put it into a 55-gallon oil drum. What that does is that it reflects more heat back into the burn and helps preclude even more air, because it's rising above the lower barrel, right? And so you're actually deoxygenizing the burn and creating pyrolysis even more efficiently. And it worked like a charm, let me tell you. The very topmost layer didn't fully carbonize. I should have let it burn for maybe 5 more minutes, I think, maybe 10. But I was impatient. I wanted to go inside. I'm like, fuck this, it's getting dark. So I closed it up. And I created very high efficiency charcoal. I would say it's more than 50% efficiency by volume. And that's when it compacts, of course. That's when all the air pockets from the larger pieces of wood, those are no longer a thing, because you got these little chunks, no bigger than a golf ball in general. Perfect charcoal. It's got that tinkling metallic sound. And what you do with it, what I'm going to do, I'm going to empty the barrel out, do another burn. I want to have 2 barrels full of the charcoal before I process it. Do not use any metal instruments in processing charcoal for biochar. It might explode, because charcoal powder is highly explosive, easily ignited. It'll go up in a flash. It'll literally knock you on your ass, potentially. It will blow up. Use plastic, wood, whatever you want to do. I'm going to take a wooden pole, pound it down into smaller pieces. I want some dust. I want some like pea stone size pieces, and maybe a few of the larger chunks. That's fine. What you're going to do is you put it in a vat, plastic bin, old bathtub, maybe you got that redneck thing on your property, whatever. Put the char in there and then soak it with water. Cover it over. Now add fertilizer and mix it in. I'm going to use organic fertilizer. I think it's called Poseidon's Harvest I was using before. It's a kelp meal. And what that'll do once you let it sit for at least a few days, up to a week or so, is it'll charge that biochar with all of its crenellations. Remember, the cell structure of the wood is still there. It'll soak in that fertilizer and charge it. Because otherwise, if you add it directly to the soil, unless it's really, really rich soil or using chemical fertilizer, which I don't use, it'll leach nitrogen out of the soil. It'll actually deny it to the plants. What biochar does is, number one, it adds carbon. Most of the soils in the world are carbon poor. They've been mechanically farmed or stripped. They don't have a lot of carbon in them. That's number one. You can also do hugelkultur for the same thing. Number two, it adds tilth. It breaks up the soil because you're using little pellety chunks, you know, again, from the size of a BB to the size of dice or something like that. And it breaks up the soil. Number three, it helps promote the growth of microbes, because the surface area of charcoal is very, very high by volume because of those little crenellations. It holds nutrients, and it also provides a place for microbes, especially nitrogen-fixing microbes, to grow and to thrive. Number four, it'll be there after you're dead, because unless you're doing mechanical farming, it can take centuries to break down. So that carbon, that improvement will be there for a very long time. Also, it is very cost efficient. I spent a few $100s on a cord of good seasoned hardwood. In the end, I'm going to create thousands of dollars worth of actual charcoal. This is just from one fucking burn. This is nothing compared to the pile of wood that I've got. I'm going to be burning all winter. I'm going to process it tub by tub, and then I'm going to pump it into the soil. Next year, I'll do the same thing, probably with another cord or thereabouts. And then it'll be fully improved. I'll literally never have to improve that soil as far as carbon goes again in my life. I'll be dead before it's all gone. That Viking bed that sat there fallow for 4 years, it's still black as coal. Well, that's because I added a bunch of biochar to it and put some wood below it. And I doubled up on the carbon on that one. Look into biocharcoal. It's massively easy. To people that want me to make a video on the topic, I will. I'll show you my exact method. It's very, very simple. It's no muss, no fuss. There are more sophisticated setups. You can make a kiln. You can do the retort method. You can create literally like a little fucking blast furnace if you want to. This is the easiest method, the cheapest method. You're going to need a 55-gallon oil drum, new or old, it doesn't matter. And then something smaller that pretty much fits in it fairly snugly, so you can still put the lid over it. and you just layer it up as it burns. Once the top is charring, because the bottom's not getting any air at that point, so you don't have to worry about the fact that it's open to the air. You just put the lid on and close it up. I put a couple of cinder blocks on top. It stanched immediately, and 10 minutes later, it was cooling. That's all you have to do. And if people only knew how easy it was to massively improve their soil, we're talking 20 to 40% additional yield with a terra preta soil. That's what it's called. Mix it with compost. You've charged the terra preta, and it's all good. You don't have a carbon imbalance. That's all you have to do. And by the way, for you environmentalists out there worried about climate change, you're sequestering carbon dioxide would be in your soil. You're creating more plant growth. You're sequestering carbon for longer than your likely lifespan will be. Decades later, that soil will still be much darker, much more tilthy. It'll still have chunks of charcoal in it, even if you're tilling it. Even if you goddamn rototill it, it'll take several decades to break down. It's going to be great. And yes, by the way, to Jeff 17, wood ash is also good. I'm going to make that separately, though. Jason J. Sticks, do you make your own mayo? Duck eggs are best. No, I just use Hellman's, actually. Douglas Quaid, what's your favorite Billy Idol song? Eyes Without a Face. Absolutely. Lev Polyakov, who are these robots that Ozzy has? Inquiring minds want to know. He's got a whole big goddamn collection and a whole museum of robots. Doc Holliday, you were outstanding on Timcast IRL. Average viewership, it's about 42K. When you were on it, peaked at 60K and stayed consistently in the upper 50s. Yeah, I actually earlier looked at the number of people who had watched the stream. And I mean, we're stacking up with some of the big names like Larry Elder, and even we outstripped Don Jr. More views than Donald Trump Jr. Yeah, I would say that was a good appearance. Definitely one of my favorite things that I've done. Jason M. Where can I find your hat? Looked through Pumpkin Fire and Anton's merch and didn't see it. Apologies if you've covered this already. I believe Pumpkin Fire is currently working on hats. However, this one came from Wicked Needle Embroidery. I don't think they're publicly available, though. I think these were just made for me. I'm not 100% sure on that one. I'll check their site over, though. By the way, please send no more super chats because I've ran out of topics and we're going up on an hour. Oh, my God. I got to go and empty that charcoal out and burn a bunch of cardboard and paper and shit like that in preparation for tomorrow's charcoal load. You don't need much kindling. I think I put a few strips of cardboard stacked around a paper bag, basically, in the middle. Then once it got going, I just piled twigs on top of it with some wood around it. It got right going. But you're going to want dry wood, mainly. At the very least, in the bottom layer, you're going to want dry wood. I've got some pine stacked up there that was dead on the trees. That's, it's bone dry, and that works well. Twist my cake, kicking ass daily, and taking names. And I've got no more names to take. Wolf on the Plains. If you are taking music requests, check out Ren, especially the songs Hi Ren and Seven Sins. Freaking amazing stuff. Clank on. Nice. Wow. Could you make a video? I have a friend who's doing a master's in plant biology. Don't think he's heard of charcoaling. Would be good to spread info. Yeah, my method with the second barrel made it more metallic, which is a higher quality. If you only use one, I have a feeling that it makes the really low quality charcoal that like powders really easily. This is more metallic. It clumps up like it. I can't explain it. There's a difference between the two. I've made both kinds of charcoal. Vermont Red Pill. I would super chat, but Styx doesn't need my $5 today. That's all good. Don't you super chat after I say not to. God damn it. Sigilstone. It's African American as coal, you fucking racist. A woman with military experience means she spent her entire service on her back. Military doesn't really want to talk about barracks bunnies. No, I don't think that Tulsi Gabbard is a barracks bunny. No, I think she's a bit more hardcore than that. I like her. Yeah, now that she's given up on the anti-gunnery, she's perfectly fine and palatable to me. Sigilstone, did you see the environmentalists on Twitter bending themselves into pretzels, sucking off the regime at the news that 22 million acres of public land are going to be bulldozed for solar farms? Yeah, isn't that lovely? Instead of just putting them on roofs that are already there, we clear out fallow land and cut down trees in order to put up solar farms. It's retarded. Scott Allman. By the way, you can use copper or bronze tools for charcoal. Oh, no, just use wood. I just take a wooden pole and, pound it around in a plastic bucket. Remy. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. was listening to that song the other day. That was back before it was "fuck you, do what they tell you." That seems to be the new thing. I actually disagree with you, Anton. Tim is really cool. Like, if you met him in person, you'd probably get along with him. Dude's eccentric as hell. I thought it was hilarious, actually. Had a great time on the show. Can't wait to get back. I've got an open invitation there, and also the Culture Wars podcast. I think they want me on there at some point. And we were discussing it with Taylor Hansen, actually, who was the next guest on, whether it'd be like a debate or discussion. I prefer discussion myself. A little bit of debate's fine, but yeah, I'm kind of over debating at this point with people for the most part, unless it's on like some side issue. Nobody really cares, and it's just sort of for entertainment, because debate doesn't change anyone's mind. Well, I mean, I try to change people's minds, bring them around to my point of view. That's the whole point. Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to brainwash people into believing in classical liberalism. Hey, guys, you should pay 90% less taxes. There should be less bureaucrats, less regulations. You should be able to do your own thing, fucking grow your own food, catch your own rainwater, etc. You should be able to trade and travel and do whatever you want, unimpeded largely by government. I don't understand why this is a controversial view, but apparently there are people that disagree with me. Shaft 9000, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. Dave Stewart is great. The ultimate pretty boy of the 80s. King of Biltong, he should have had more discussion with you, Sticks. It seemed like they spoke over you. Well, I speak over other people sometimes, too. I thought it was great. I thought the dynamic was fine. I mean, I'm not going to go on someone else's show and hold a monologue. Although I do claim the clip of the discussion with my comment about Bud Light, the home of the hard R, right at the end. If you haven't seen the Timcast IRL episode, I genuinely encourage you to do so, everyone. I thought it was fucking funny. That last few minutes, though, was the funniest part. I am claiming that. Just saying. Cole Ross. Comment didn't go through earlier. Northeast Ohioan year. FYI. East Palestine is pronounced Palestine, not Palestine. Yeah, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. Anyways, I'm going to go offline here. Absolutely. I've got things to do, including a news crawl. I got to empty that fucking charcoal out into a bin. Now that it's cool, it's been open. It's totally cool by now, which, considering the weather, isn't a surprise. And then I'll burn the brush. Tomorrow, I'll probably make another charcoal load. I may try to make a video. The thing is, I think I'll have to like splice it and do editing, and I'm not very good at that. Just like I'm not good at audio work. People keep telling me, oh, in Timcast, you were so clear. Here, you sound like a freak. I'm like, ah, shit. I'm going to do the best that I can. There's a little bit of a learning curve for a Luddite like me. So, yeah, I'm going to be doing some news crawl and charcoaling. At some point, eat pot roast and probably get the whole fucking thing myself. But, yeah, the bathroom will be occupado for the night. That's about all. Peace out.